couple of moments watching that, and then I just got excited. And that's when that young sister said, the corporations, I was like, that's right. Like, making that connection between the economics of what's going on in this country and what's happening in our education system, right? But I'm excited about it. My name is Ditra. I'm the program director at the Praxis project. I feel like a movie star here with all this stuff. I'm excited to be here with you all. Excited for all the young people in the room. I got a chance to check in with some of them about their own work and what they're doing and what they see about what's coming up. So I'm excited to make sure that their voices get heard in this process. I have the pleasure to be able to introduce to you all of our speakers for this morning. And we're going to bring them up and get ourselves started. So if we could have Dr. Lafayette come to the stage. As soon as I saw her smile, and then her conversation just, I said, this is going to be a great panel, because she's going to hold it down for us. I'd love to welcome Baseerah to the stage. And this brother I've known for a long time and have been blessed right now to be able to talk to him more regularly and see him more regularly as I just joined his organization's National Board for Young People's Project. So I'd like to welcome Sykes to the table. Put in the energy, right? That's what it's about. All right. And I want to say that listening to this young sister this morning talk about what she wanted to be able to leave with people just really made me happy. You know, when he's watching folks come up in the movement and really hold that passion. You know, those of us who've been doing some of this work for a long time, their energy gives us energy. And I'm just excited to introduce Ms. Sarah Johnson. Well, I didn't know this next person personally, and you know me, I'm a Google person. I tell my staff, I Google everything and anything before I have to do it. So I Googled her, and I was really excited because I was like, look at this, I found these some new tools to help me with some strategy work. I was excited. I just want to welcome, at least when I, forgive me if I mispronounce your last name, Lisa Fithian. That's exciting. So, you know, this is an opportunity for us to really talk about with the folks that have been doing this work over a set of generations, to be able to talk to young people who are doing it today. And the thing is, my guess is Dr. Lafayette has to stop doing work. That's the work still today, just like y'all will be doing this, right? But it is about an opportunity for us to share some stories, not just from the panels, but from the audience too, because I'm sure you all have stories. But it's an opportunity for us to really think about some strategies, some action work, about how we can build off of what we know. Maybe there's some new tactics out there that we can share with each other. But what we do know is that this country is making a shift. And if our strategies, tactics don't change, don't increase, and if more of us don't get engaged, education is not our only struggle, right? Many of us work on multiple issues, but education is critical not just for us today, as we know it's for even those that aren't here. I'd like to bring up the lights and be able to get some audience reaction to the films that we just showed, the clips that we just saw. When you saw them, what came up for you? What was it? 3 to 5 words, sentences that, when you saw that, what came up for you? And there should be mics around the room, so reflections people have.
I'll start if I may. There was this boldness in my heart that I can't even put into words. It was just incredible. It gives us a reminder and a new appreciation of what the people before us, or our ancestors, went through so that we can be here in this room having this conversation today. It's a shame that we're still talking about it, but it's a privilege to be able to talk about it and move forward without today the threat of being arrested, although we may get there yet. Other folks, what came up for you when we saw that? The AEJ one? I know some of y'all you might have saw yourselves in there. Come on now. We have a hand up front too.
I found that I was thinking in the voice and actually able to say and do what they want to do to get what they want, to get what we need to be able to see.
All right.
For me, watching the clip, I originate from South Carolina and lived through the Jim Crow, remembering having to go to separate drinking fountains and restaurants. And it just took me back to, and also made me feel really great that I'm a part of the movement now. And I just feel so proud of the people who fought for us, and just knowing in my heart that what I'm doing is the right thing, and that all of us here in this room have to keep this movement going so that generations behind us won't have to struggle so much.
It's a passion to look at something like this. And I believe that our young people in schools across the country need to understand the roots of where we came from, the fight, the struggles. And I believe that when young people see things like this, they would take this into consideration before they start dropping out of school, before they start skipping classes, before they start thinking about negative things, to take into consideration that people fought hard to get them to where they are today. So I think these type of films should be viewed or showed in schools across the country so people can have understanding of the struggles that people went through so they can get educated.
Young people are still in many places fighting for so much.
I think the first video was kind of emotional. Like, I felt happy and sad for different reasons than other folks mentioned. Happy because of the legacy that folks mentioned, but I did feel sad because the sense of fearlessness, the sense that they had to break the law. I don't think that the world is that much different from then, I think it is on the surface, but I do think, to be honest, like I really question, are we still living in slave times? Forget even beyond that. And so like I felt a little hurt because I wondered like, are we ready to break the law? I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I kept thinking as we try to, and I think about this a lot and I've raged with it a lot, is like as we try to change the world, do we need to break the law? Because the laws right now are breaking us. So.
So the media got this two more couple. I'm sorry, you guys, I can't see.
For me, watching that film brought up a time in my life which was kind of traumatic because I lived during that time in Mississippi and Alabama, and I lost my favorite uncle in the whole wide world because the only thing he wanted to do outside of Jackson in a little town called Florence was to register people to vote. And because of that, he was killed. So for me, it brings back a really sad time in my life. And it's the reason why I would never, ever not vote. And it's the reason that I talk to young people in the work that I do to tell them the importance of voting. Because we lost so many of our people who are just trying to do the right thing by voting.
And I am from Jackson, Mississippi originally, but I work in the school system in Macomb, Mississippi. And so I was proud when they said Freedom Riders and when they talked about Parchment and we just commemorated the Freedom Riders. But I was very proud that people thought enough of me, a child who was not born at that time. But they paved the way for so many opportunities and people came from all over the nation so that children of Mississippi and citizens of Mississippi would have the rights that are afforded to them by the Constitution. But it leaves me with a feeling that I have a charge to continue their work, to empower my students and to educate my students because so many children in classrooms right in Mississippi do not know their history. Our history charges us and warns us that we have to stand and do something about it. I also want to challenge my young people, those who think about dropping out because you're not challenged enough. There are other barriers to you being in a school. Don't give up. Look at the fights and the struggles. We're not beaten to have an education. So if you have a boring teacher, suffer through. If you have a teacher that tries to kill your self-esteem, rise above. But we have work to do, it's much work to do, and it still exists today. The struggles still exist today.
My name is Sherry Burns. I'm with the Alliance for Quality Education, and I hail from probably consistently one of the most notorious cities in the country for the racial divide. I am from Buffalo, New York, and I say it with pride, and I say it sometimes with pain. I was also a member of the first pre-court-ordered integration classroom in Buffalo, New York, and I know what that meant at the time that it happened in grade 5. We have a great deal of work to do. But when I look around this room and to our young people, I want you to make really sure you understand that. What we see in this room is a representation of equality and a commitment to each other that did not happen by accident. Please hear me. It is not an accident that this room looks the way it does, and that the people at the tables are the people that they are. And I'm enormously grateful for the ones who came before me and for every one of you in this room. We old education gangsters cannot lay down, there is no retirement, because the young people in this room are still counting on us. And I, for one, will be here for you. I could not be here were it not for the ones who came before me. So be inspired and stay mad.
Julia Harden, Rural Community Alliance, and from the film, I felt the passing of the torch, and my heart received it.
So we have time probably for 2 more, and then sure. I don't know if anyone that wanted to say something since I only have 2.
the young people's point of view. I was living in a town called Akron, Mississippi. Okay, it's about like Newport, like an hour from Jackson. But like seeing that film, it made me realize that you can't get through life without taking a step, like taking chances. And it motivated me to take more chances and be more educated in my grades in school and like to influence the younger people that they can do this no matter if you're white, black, whatever race you are. So it left a positive effect on me.
Excuse me, Melissa Fox. I live here in Washington, D.C. I want to pick up on the voting issue that the lady from Mississippi brought up. We're facing an election, as everyone knows, next year. And during the last election, I answered phones at the Bethesda headquarters for Obama. And many of the phone calls that I received, we received phone calls from everywhere in the country. We had an 800 number coming in, and many of the phone calls that I received were from disenfranchised voters, most of them African American, disenfranchised for many, many reasons. And now we face the situation with ALEC, which is going to disenfranchise many, many thousands of more voters. And this is the time to get out the vote and to help people register to vote. So this is something that the youth can do, all of you youngsters out there, and this is something that all of us have to do. So while we're helping education, which is what we're all here to do, we all have to win the election next year. And whether we want people to vote Democrat or not, we have to register all of our voters, and everyone has to register to vote, and no one should be disenfranchised in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to get some reflections from the panel, and Dr. Lafayette, I'm going to start with you. Seeing yourself up on the big screen there, what are some of your reflections and maybe a further story about your experience as a freedom rider?
Well, looking at that film makes me have the first response is I'm glad to be here. And that has multiple meanings, glad to be here. First of all, to have survived that movement. Made out my will more than once. And many of my friends, close friends, are no longer here. So when I say glad to be here, I mean, it's to witness this meeting and to witness what you're doing. I said last night it's feels like a movement. And then I quickly corrected myself, so it is the movement. I didn't know we had a group like this that existed. In fact, I checked with the people who invited me, and I said, are you sure you want to talk about direct action? I said, well, this group is, they're going to believe in that. So, wow, there's nothing, you know what I mean? All these different kind of organizations and education, and, administrators, and superintendents, schools, and that kind of stuff. Direct action? Yeah, it's, I'm glad I'm here, you know? So that's my reaction. I'm ready to go.
Got this quote, and it says, if you're not part of the solution, then you are the problem. And when I was watching the civil rights movement with the white now, he made it his responsibility. He made it his moral imperative to go out and go on that bus and be one of the freedom riders, right? He said that this is my responsibility and this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to make a difference. This is how I'm going to change. And then when I saw education and justice for violence,
I also saw that. These young people, our generation, we are the future, right? We need to stand up, and that's what I saw when I was watching that video. We stood up. We made our voice heard. We made it our responsibility to get out there, say what needs to be said. So I would just have to say that because all the youth in the room, we are the next generation. We are the future. So make it your moral imperative. Make it your responsibility. Take hold of your destiny, and your future will be bright.
I guess echoing off of what Sarah so wonderfully said, I actually saw the Freedom Riders film. It was playing on the week I watched it with my mom and my sister. And I remember watching my mom cry while watching the documentary, and understanding and knowing why she was feeling that way, but also at that moment understanding it was a new sense and a new level of determination to continue and pay homage to the people that came before us and who've laid the path for us to be here today. And I believe that is like something that I think as a youth we sometimes don't appreciate fully. But I can say, speaking for myself, that I'm so grateful for the path that was laid for us to be here today. It also invokes a level of determination to continue organizing work because we all know that they're not finished, that we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot of changes to be made on the legislative level, on the moral level, on our personal levels, and just in our family lives and our lives in general. I love looking at where we came from because it helps me clearly understand where we're going. And I love doing things like this kind of work, because a level of happiness and a level of appreciation is brought forth when I think about establishing paths for a productive future. Because we aren't just the future, we are the here and now. And I know I want the best life for myself, for my future, for my people. And I've never been one to let socioeconomic status, race, culture, religion, or anything hold me back from doing what I think needs to be done for myself. So I would love, So welcome for the panel. Why I'm here today is to give as much positive energy, as much influential aura, as much just positivity towards making this entire room understand the need to go back to your respective communities and work. That's what I got.
Good morning. There's so many things in the film that I had resonance with. I really became politically active in the 70s, sort of after the Civil Rights Movement, and no question that I continue to work in that lineage. You know, when I was in high school, I learned two important lessons that, again, the film reminds me of, is that one, there is injustice, and two, that people working together can make change. And using direct action, the ability to sort of to take responsibility ourselves, you know, direct action can change the world. And so in a lot of the work and teachings that I do, I talk about two fundamental strategies for change: dismantling those systems of oppression while creating systems of liberation. And if you look back in history at the Freedom Riders, they took those systems of oppression head on, right? And were willing to put their bodies on the line and go to jail to do it. And the community they built, and the culture that was built, and the training that was built, are about building those systems of liberation. And so we have to do both of those simultaneously. And so, I mean, I could rattle on and on, but I'll hold it at that for now because I know we'll have more time. But let me just say that last piece about those of you that are out there today fighting for education and justice. This is life work. And there's a lot we can do to increase our power if we pay attention and work consciously and be willing to develop ourselves to be our full potential. And so I hope we share more about how we can do that today. So thank you.
So I'm from Mississippi.
So when I looked at that film, I saw home. And I also saw some of my mentors. So Dave Dennis is the person who I spent some years of my life with. You know, so I see him sitting there with his eye black, trying to do something, trying to do the right thing. His former wife is here with us today, so she's also been a part of building up young people like myself in Mississippi that go on and do good things. And so, also Bob Moses, thinking about those people, a lot of people in Mississippi, not just the names that we hear in the books, but Fannie Lou Hamer, folks like C.C. Bryant, that were on the ground. Because one of the things that I think we have to talk about when we talk about this torch passing is we don't need to keep the other torches no longer than it takes us to get yours to light out. Because we need more torches. If we continue to pass around the same torches, we're not getting more light. So if we use their torches to light our fires, then we'll all shine a lot brighter and we're creating more light. And then also we gotta understand that everybody's not gonna be able to bear the torch. So when you start with some of the folks stepping out the bus as freedom riders, you gotta also understand that there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes to make that happen, to coordinate that. When Dr. King was out marching, Dr. Lafayette was beside him, but there was also times when Dr. Lafayette was in the back room strategizing and getting things together and keeping things together. And so, some people bear the torch, some people fan the flame. Ella Baker, she fanned flames. She lit torches. She created a lot of lights. And so that's how we got to think about our work. Who we going to light up? How we going to light them? Are we willing to lean our torch over long enough to light somebody else's? Because that's what we need. Well, that's what I'm going to say. I know I'm probably taking too long. But, I mean, because it's Mississippi, man. That's still our nation's monster, you know. When you see images of Iraq and Afghanistan, you hear the word terrorism, let me tell you, that's happening right now. Not just in Mississippi, but across the country. Jay-Z, one of his songs, "Got Over Father Soldier," he was talking about the crack epidemic in the 80s in New York. He said crack was anthrax back then. Back when police was Al-Qaeda, black men. Police are still Al-Qaeda, black men. The American government and the policies that's being put out is holding us back in our communities. Those are the bombs that they're dropping in our communities. Education, the funding of education, the broken policies, the broken practices, the spending and trying to recreate the will, and not empowering the people who really got the knowledge and the experience to make the change that needs to happen. And so we've been sold up the river more than once. And now it's time for us to stop thinking about not only what we stand for, but we got to think about what we will no longer be knocked down for.
You're really laying context to why. But tell us a little bit of some of your own strategies and approaches to dealing with what's happening. I know you all come out of organizing work and advocacy work, so maybe you could share a strategy or an approach, or through a story, tell us how you've been able to move some things. And who'd like to go first? Because I know sometimes you got stuff on. Excellent. Let's start.
I'm part of VOYCE and also APNC. VOYCE is still used in Chicago education and all of the Department of Council leader there. And my organization, we participated in Occupy Chicago, personally there too. And at first, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But then when I got to downtown Chicago and I saw all these people there marching with passion, and letting their voice get heard, it made me inspired. It made me want to march. It made me want to hit, like louder. Like I want to get my voice louder than them, because that's just how much passion was passed. That's how much passion is passed for me. And so that's what that was about. And then what was the wow factor of my day when I was marching? I saw two of my teachers at the Occupy movement, and I just thought to myself, wow. My teacher, he may be pushing for a different message than I am. I was pushing for, no more school closure bus, but he might be pushing towards more of the home or the unemployment rate or overseas jobs. But we all came together at this movement to connect all our issues, to stand up for what is right. We all connected. This one issue, this issue, it's okay because we're all in the struggle. So I thought that was very powerful when I saw him, because it made me think like, wow, not only am I making a difference, but my teacher, my school is also making a difference. And then after the movement, I got on the bus and I was like, wow, this is a pretty big deal. I got on the bus and I asked my coordinator, Raul, I said, Raul, do you think we made any progress today? Do you think we made a change? Do you think we made a difference? I said, wow. He's like, would you like to ask the bus that? And with all my student peers, and they're like, yeah, we made a difference. Yeah, we marched. So I honestly think that we are pushing for a difference. We are pushing for progress. We are here today. So our progress is still being made. Even if it's a slow progress, we are still making a change.
Well, I myself am currently affiliated with a number of youth organizing groups within the Philadelphia area. First and foremost being the Philadelphia Student Union. And secondly being the Campaign for Nonviolent Schools, the Alliance for Educational Justice, and Dignity in Schools campaign. All four of those organizations were four of the biggest organizations as far as bringing youth organizing work in the Philadelphia area, statewide area, and the national area. So as far as the strategy goes, we, at the forefront of the main organization I'm a part of, Philadelphia Student Union, our biggest goal is to organize and empower youth to not only establish their voice, but understand what it needs to be said with their voices. That it's not just a back and forth with teachers, that's not just a back and forth with principals, that there are, certain criteria and things that need to be said and certain ways to go about creating change. And our biggest ways of creating change is organizing, creating direct action towards changing policies, making our legislature doing what needs to be done to not only establish a positive reflection today, but for the future. And that's where our biggest work is. Me personally, I have 5 generations of Muslims in my family, and my grandfather was at the forefront of civil rights in Philadelphia with the Nation of Islam, and I think it's the reason why I myself am so into organizing work is because I have a level of civil rights and a level of that fight and just coursing through my veins, like it's there. So that rebellious spirit is one that has been going through my family for a long time. And I personally feel that we have an obligation to create areas and create just everything, just do what we can to make sure that our future is just as good as our present, and that we don't stop this, that it just continues to go. As far as strategies go, we work hard with principals, superintendents, we work hand in hand with School District of Philadelphia, with the district police, with school police. We have done work
with training police officers within Philadelphia schools. We have done work with creating better teacher-student interactions within schools. We're currently going on a campaign, working on a campaign against vouchers. And I don't know if everyone knows what a voucher is, but as far as in Pennsylvania, a voucher is something that is trying to be passed by our governor into legislature that will essentially cherry pick and hand pick specific students in public schools and give them a certain amount of money so that they can be able to attend private and parochial schools. And just in saying that, it sounds very, that's a little, what that actually consists of. But the reason why we feel that that isn't productive to a student's future is because essentially that money is Pennsylvania's money, Pennsylvania taxpayer money, and we're taking it and we're pretty much just draining and killing public education little by little, which isn't cool. So the Philadelphia Student Union, we work really hard to do that. Also, the Campaign for Non-Violent Schools is the organization that PSU created, which is the biggest group of youth organizations within the city. So we consist of different organizations that we come together to create a nonviolent model of restorative justice to be put into the school district of Philadelphia's handbook. So, like I said, we work hard to change policy, to change legislature, that isn't just the actions that are, making change, that we actually make changes that will stick and that will actually make a difference for the future.
This is life work. It never goes away. And part of the power of this work is that it's so transformative that if you do this work for your life, you're going to have so many stories you don't even know where to go. So I've been getting arrested since 1983, and I've done it in a number of struggles, but I think it's an incredibly powerful way to go. I'll get more of that in, but we've stopped wars, we've wanted to take justice in housing, but I want to tell a short story recently. New York State was looking at serious budget cuts in education this year, the state budget and the city budget. And I had the honor of working in New York around a coalition called May 12th this year. And we worked together, community groups, student groups, labor unions, grassroots activists, formed a massive coalition that put together a week of actions in New York City. We did actions leading up to it in the Capitol in Albany, going after all kinds of industry players. And it was primarily a leadership training program. So we've got young people, community groups, who went through a training program, and then all week long, they participated in nonviolent direct actions, going after banks, going after education targets, getting practice, debriefing, developing their leadership, converging on a big day where we had 20,000 people converge on Wall Street. And we didn't ask permission, right? We took the public parks, we mobilized on issue fronts. We had a human services march, a housing march, a youth march, an education march, and I was told to say about HU that the education went up really rocked it. Over 11,000 people on education. Transport workers, peace folks, everyone came to the table because this is not a single issue movement anymore, right? That's right. Not a multi-issue movement, this is a single issue movement. That this system is not working for any of us, right? So we did march and we poured into Wall Street. We did a massive teaching. 100 people actually teach through popular education about how the banks in corporate America were affecting all these different aspects of our lives. And the young people are always the engine of any change, and as they were on May 12th, bringing their powerful voices in the streets. And we did artwork, and we made sure there was food, and we made sure there was transportation, because when we organize to really take on the state, to take on power, they're going to come down on us, and we need to be as strong and full and as authentic as we can be. So our organizers got to encompass all of that work so we can be fully present and step into this in a way that's going to help us to keep taking more steps. So, I have all I've ever done in my life is strategic nonviolent direct action campaigns. And when I was younger, I was president of student governments, and I actually worked in legislation early on. And I learned, though, that the politicians would never make the change we needed unless they absolutely had to. So I made a decision to go out of the hall of Congress and into the streets, and to build our power, the people power in the streets, to create that popular mandate. So we need to be clear about there's a lot of different strategies and they're all needed at different points in time. But unless we build that popular mandate and really move them through our moral persuasion and our willingness to sacrifice and showing the world what it's about, they're never going to do the right thing. So let's be clear that in this moment of Occupy, when we're really trying to change the economic order, if we're going to go work in politicians and Congress, we have to interrupt that space between corporate America and democracy. Because that's what we're taking.
So right now, I'm working with 2 high school students and 2 college students, and we actually looking into the possibility of relaunching the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Part of it is because when you look at what happened there, you had a woman, Fannie Lou Haney, a former sharecropper, who was just telling her story to Congress in such a powerful way that the president interrupted her, so that the rest of the country couldn't know what was happening on the ground in Mississippi. And so when you look at broadband access in rural communities, when you look at, when now they got the life insurance fund, but when you look at, folks being able to have ways to communicate with each other, when you look at the ways that the postal system being cut back, part of that is they always understood that you can stop us from communicating, then you can stop us from building what we need to build. And I think yesterday, a couple of times, she said something about football. So when you know it's football season, and when your team is losing, they always say the coach is on the hot seat. And so the folks that we've been electing, if we're on their team, we losing. And so we need to put the coaches on the hot seat. And so we're not being represented the way that we should. And so the mission of those folks was to finally see the power and challenge it and say the folks that sit in these chairs don't represent us. They don't represent our interests, and that's what we got to do. And the reason that we have to do that is because the DREAM Act can no longer be a dream. A fully funded education that's federally protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. There has to be a reality. Like, we can't continue to dream and beg and plead. Like, we got to push and prod and take and move. And the things that we're trying to do on a national level, we got to do on a local level. So when we move on, that's the you call your congressman in Washington, D.C. We got to think about you can walk up to your mayor, you can walk past your city councilman, right in the grocery store, in your community, slap them in the back of the head, tell them to wake up, and let's so, we're real quick to call D.C., but we are a lot less hesitant to come right to the folks that's right in our communities, that's selling us out, and we continue to play on their team. Our team is losing.
I feel like this environment is kind of intimidating, so it's hard for us to get here and talk to the crowd. But I just want to let loose. So there has been very much so a campaign against youth. There has very much so been these opportunities and these ways of politicians, these ways of prior generations where youth are not being given the opportunity to stand up and make responsible decisions for themselves, to be able to speak freely, eloquently, and just say what needs to be said with a powerful voice. And I personally believe that the reason why the power of voice hasn't been established is because we haven't really been given. It hasn't really been born. We haven't really been given the opportunity for our voices to be heard, acknowledged, recognized, understood, comprehended, and being given I think prior generations have yet to understand that we know what we want, and we know what we need, and we know how to say it, we know how to do it, we know how to and create actions around it, organize around it. We know what we want. We know how to strategize. We strategize in our classrooms. We strategize at our friends' parents' houses. We strategize, on corners and stores. We strategize all the time. We understand what's wrong. I feel like the system is that we have, just specifically in Philadelphia, and pretty sure in other places, is set up to discipline the occurrence rather than to prevent the reoccurrence. That is a situation where we are repeatedly put in predicaments where we will fail. When we have different generations, different policies, different legislators, just different things in general where we don't live up or we don't reach the heights in which we can. And I think this room has been constructed here today for us to strategize, for us to come up with ways that we can empower our youth to understand the part that they need to play in their own future, in their own futures and the roles of the future's futures. You understand what I'm saying? That was a little confusing. But yeah, I feel very strongly about this as a youth, as a high school senior, knowing I'm about to go to college and pay a crap load of money, and knowing that, my opportunity for getting a job because of my race, because of my socioeconomic status, because of my religion, because of all these different things that we, use as methods for keeping, people like me down, that they will in some way somehow negatively impact me, and I ain't gonna let that happen.
Dr. Lafayette, you're taking it in, watching your expressions as you hear the stories, and just wanted to get your reaction to what you're hearing in your own reflection around strategy and tactics.
I'm talking about hanging around. I feel good. Yes, a couple of things. One thing I'm trying to figure out, what is this next generation thing? I know X to me. I don't know what they're talking about. Why are they talking about the X and their Y generation and all that? They don't know what it is. So I am really just, you cannot even imagine how excited I am. Okay? And the thing that really makes me more excited is to be connected with you and share with you my experiences that like you say, okay, far too many. I just give you a couple examples. Okay? Philadelphia. Okay? My parents went there after the war. I came from Tampa, Florida. And I used to belong to a gang in Philadelphia, Parish Street gang. We used to fight the Gerard Avenue gang. And they couldn't handle us, although they were larger. We were smaller in number, but smaller in size. So we learned the strategy of what you call strategic jiu-jitsu. In other words, how do you get your opponents and your enemies to defeat themselves? I learned that, okay, in the early 1950s, when I was in the 4th or 5th grade, okay? What happened is that Leon Sullivan in Philadelphia started a boycott of tasty bread and tasty cake and tasty pie. And we were little boys. And when they said boycott, we thought they were talking about us. So we laid low for a few days and did some investigating. So we still have some styles to find out about this boycott. So we got the information, we came back to our little hideout, and they told us that, they wouldn't, Leon Sullivan, who was a minister there, would start OIC. He said that if they weren't going to hire, black people and give them jobs and stuff like that in the bakery, industry there, tasty bread, tasty cake, we weren't going to buy any tasty bread. Well, who do you think went to the store? You don't get the minutes from the last meeting, you don't get the minutes from this meeting. So he said, what's wrong? She don't know folks' names, but that's what people do, you know. Not making assumptions, you know. Don't do that. Get information first before you try to come to some conclusions about things. Whether you like people or not. Get information. You know what we found out? She missed a meeting because she had to take 2 of her children to the hospital because they had lead poisoning. And the baby had these chips, lead-based paint chips, you know, the paint dries up and stuff, falling into the crib. The baby, her crib was her crib. And the stomach swelled up, worse than that, brain damage. Did you know that? That lead will cause brain damage. And when they destroy your cells in your brain, they don't restore them. You can't replace them. You can replace veins, but you can't replace cells yet. Okay? So that means no matter how much education you can provide, this person, okay, doesn't have a brain. Destroyed. Paralyzed. Arms. And all that stuff. This lead got into them. I can't do that. Alright? So, we got a critical health issue because our babies, in addition to the fires that took place every summer, burn, we call it the baby burning, you know, slow house and catch on fire. Here, these babies were dying. So we took on this issue. Organized the high school students to go around and get urine samples. That was the most difficult part, how to get urine samples from little girls. If there's a problem, solve it. No matter what you're going to. You know how you have the urine samples for the girls? And you might experience this and you probably don't know why. But if you put your hands in some hot water, you don't have a problem with something. These young high school students learn how to set up labs and tests for lead and all that kind of stuff, etc. Now, corporal porphyrin is what you find in Europe. My point is, how do you get these students excited about staying in school? Find out what they're interested in, and then begin to bring in the community. So we had the university working with us, we had everybody but the health department in Chicago. I went down and told us that I'm through that with that one. And I told them, I said, listen, we need a program to go and look at environmental poisoning for all of these lead-based places, you know, and do a screening to find out how many children have the thing so we can try to see if we can help those and prevent those. And you know what he told me? He said, if we did that, the hospitals would be full. I said, would you be around for the graveyards to be full? Right. All right. Thank you. So we're going to take a little shift. If I could get, how much time do we have? That would be helpful. 20 minutes. So I'm going to try to potentially get 2 things in there. I'm going to say a little bit back on some strategies and tactics that we heard, right? Not in any order, because I just wrote all over the place. We talked about making sure that we're building power, making sure that we have leadership development happening, policy change, speaking truth to power, doing coalition building, collaborative, building our collaborations, looking at the role of arts and culture in our work, doing political education, looking at the role of media and communications in our work, and then what's challenging about folks pulling that back from us. We talked about boycotts. We talked about knowing what's happening with your opponent, and are a few of the things that we talked about. I want to flip it out to the audience to get a couple of questions, specifically from young people. I know young people have been doing some thinking about their own action and the way that they wanted to do things, and so maybe we can raise the lights
I'm going to keep us to a tight time frame because I also want to bring it back to the panelists up here. So if we can,
It's our time, y'all.
come on in. All right, there we go. No, there's a hat back there. I can see a hat back there. In a white shirt.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to just say that I'm so glad that someone like Albert Sykes is on that panel. Really. I'm glad that you exist and that you're doing this work here in America, really. I would just like to say, short little, I'd like to address you for a quick second. Last night, a small but very determined group of people met in the Wilson conference room. We were really tired as hell. It was right after the gala. We were probably really cranky, and we sort of just wanted to give it a rest. But we didn't. We got together, and we wanted to find out what we were going to do next. So we asked the question, what are we going to do next? What ensued was a conversation that lasted nearly 3 hours. It was originally supposed to be 1, and it lasted nearly 3 hours till midnight. And what happened in that room was we got to know each other, we talked, we found out why other people were there, why people like us were doing the work that we're doing, and finally what we wanted to do next. But we hit a roadblock there. That's a really difficult question, and we really didn't have an answer. But as we started to discuss our campaigns, we realized that they were all tied together by one common theme, and that's the right of the students. And so when we were talking about Boston fighting for teacher evaluation reform and accessible and affordable public transportation for students, when we're talking about Pennsylvania fighting for quality education for English language learner students, and when we're talking about Baltimore doing its own thing, we realized that we were all really fighting for the same thing, and that's the right of the students. So what we decided to do was we wanted to reframe the conversations that we're having around our campaigns. And so what we're all fighting for, whether we know it or not, is what students have a right to, what rights exist for us. And finally, we decided that we liked each other a lot, that we got along, and that despite our differences, we had a lot in common. So that wasn't the last time that we're going to get together, and that certainly wasn't the last time, and this certainly isn't the last time you're going to hear from us, because I want us to remember that this has to be, it needs to be a movement for students, by the students, for the future, by the future. So, thanks. That's all I want.
Alright, cool. Hi, my name is Justice Garcia. I'm from Tufts University and freshman, part of the Education Society. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think his name's Carlos, the young man. I admire you a lot. I think that you great passion, and that's great. And I apologize for not being able to make it to the meeting last night. But I just want to say that, like Albert said, a lot of torches need to be lit. And I think that there's a lot of things we want to do, but we have to start talking. And I think that just like this movement is not just a movement, it's like it's a way of life. And what we have to do is talk about it, just like we talk about Facebook, just like we talk about Jersey Shore, things like that. We have to talk about this. We have to talk about this and live it. You know, like we wear pins, and like we wear the way I'm wearing my Tufts University sweater. I gotta wear this on my sleeve. I gotta wear this passion on my sleeve. And so I'm asking how your day was. Oh, it was pretty good, but you know, a lot of kids don't really have education, so I guess it was pretty bad. You know, talk about it like that. And it sounds ridiculous, but what's ridiculous is the fact that there are kids without education. You know, and there's things that we go out and we do stupid things, and it's just like, if there's anything we should be working for this. This isn't a part-time job, this is a way of life, like I said. Another thing is too, I definitely agree with the fact that this is a student movement. It should be, you know, very much should be student-led. But I think that we can't lose the fact that it's because of our elders that we're being led through this movement, and we have to very much respect the things that they've done and taught us. And I think that it's like sort of an idea to sort of, you know, realize that, you you know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And like, because we know that we're definitely growing that voice, but adults, as we know, you guys have more voice than we do, and you guys are paving that way for us, and we really do appreciate that. And I think that we shouldn't lose sight of that, because they're paving the way for us to do this, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate this entire campaign and all that stuff. But yeah, word on your street, talk about it all the time, like we talk about everything else, and so yeah.
Very appreciative to be here in this space with different generations that all have so much energy, have so much power. There's so much in this room swelling right now. And so I would be remiss if I didn't make that call for the young people and for really for anybody in this room to run for elected office. I as an 18-year-old ran for my school board and was able to get on because I had supports from my family, from my community. I had supports from unions. But there was no way that I could have done it by myself. I needed my high school, my student council, but like I said, I also needed my teachers, people from my church to be there with me. But I cannot leave this conference without saying, all you have to do is be a registered voter, be 18, and live in your district. So turn that passion into real action and work on these policies. Become the policy makers, because at that point, you're unstoppable, and you do have resources. And please come find us. The unelected officials who are stop by with us here, please find us, and we'll lead you to those resources. To our panel, this time is particular. So I really ready closing remarks. Give a little frame to the closing remarks. Some of what we've been hearing, right, is these spaces of intersection. And that what's happening right now, that we can't just look at what's occurring in the context of education and justice, because the economic climate is critical. What's going on in the climate itself, environmental stuff. Folks are talking about these intersections that we're existing in right now, and given the political climate that we're in, what can we think about in terms of whether it's strategy or approaches or reframing of anything that we're currently doing to really branch out how we're doing it?
Okay. All right. Let me give it to you in brief form. The value I have being over 70-something years old, that was a proper response. Yeah. But I'm over 70. That's why I ran up those steps over there. The value I have is to tell you the mistakes that we made in the movement, so you won't have to repeat them. Okay? We made a number of mistakes. I know all of them, because I was there. Okay? We gave return. Berkeley High School, okay? Yeah, I've been there. That's the whole story about Linda Travis. She acted alone. Stayed in jail. You know her, she was on the Freedom Ride, Brother Travis. You know how she was on the Freedom Ride? In this little place called Macomb, Mississippi, Little Macomb. She went down trying to buy a ticket on the color side. You know, you couldn't even buy a ticket on the same booth. You had to go on the color side, and it was a search station. They put her in jail the rest of the summer. She was 15 years old. That's the Freedom Ride she went on. Buying a ticket. And they didn't get on the bus. They were trying to buy a ticket. All right? And she went back to school that summer. That fall. The principal told her that she couldn't go to school because she was a juvenile delinquent person and got charged with that. So students had gotten their books, for the year. They went to school went and took their books and piled them up on the front step of the Berlin High School, and then they walked down to the SNCC headquarters over Masonic Temple. Okay, it was up there over the grocery store. We were having a meeting. Charles Chabron, Bob Moses, Diane Nash, Jim Bevel, you know, we're not on this, all of us. Okay? Yeah, they did this. Okay. All right, all of us. And they were ready to march. Students were ready to demonstrate. So we said, well, who's going to lead this march? Because all of us can't go to jail. We're going to go back and do our projects. So we had a couple of people including Bob Moses. Not Bob Moses, Bob Zellman. Okay, he just joined SNCC, so we went to baptize him. So you lead the march, y'all lead the march. I forgot that person, who was that? Anyway, he's from Mississippi, just got out of jail. So the whole school responded, ended up having to send them to school in Jackson, Mississippi, because they supported Brenda Travis. Sometimes you have to take the action if nobody else is ready. That's the first point. Others will follow. You take the lead, okay? All right. Lesson 1. The mistake we made once we got the voters' rights bill passed, okay, a lot of people died, okay, for that movement. There's Lauzlo, Jonathan Daniels, Reed, okay, Jimmy Lee Jackson, okay? People died, all right? We weren't trying to get the right to vote. We already had the right to vote. What we're trying to do is get the federal government to protect our rights because we were citizens. Because the states wouldn't protect our rights. And the states set standards for who could register. Why would they have, as citizens, all of us are citizens, but they got different tests to take in different states? What's that about? One of the goals that we should have continued to press for is a standardized system of people registered to vote. States need to be involved in that. We didn't press for that. The next thing we didn't do, and I'll talk more about it in the workshop, we should have set up in every county, particularly in the South, okay, citizenship, education, schools. People who haven't participated in the government all those years, how do you expect them just to get registered and know what to do? And who to select, and what issues we should be working on, and how do you impact government? We weren't talking about registering to vote, we were talking about participation in government. Okay? And that's what we didn't do. Now, what we should do is organize legislatures for every state, youth legislature from age 12 to 17. If every state had a youth legislation, and they would be passing bills and sending them on up to the state, okay? This will happen in the next 5 years. We'll all be registered to vote for real in the next 5 years. It'll be over, all right?
A number of folks talked today about the different things that are going on, that it's the different movements that are happening, the different issues that are happening on these points of intersection. What are ways that you think that we can really leverage our power to address that, to really talk about coming together and working together?
With that, we're advocating support. All of us for what we stand up for, what we believe in, gain support in our communities, gain support in our schools, gain support in ourselves, ask each other questions, express to each other what's happening in the rural parts of Mississippi, or express what's happening in urban Chicago, or to express what's happening with education or overseas jobs, to get all those issues out, because that is what we're fighting for, not just only education. education is one step, and then you're going to have to get work, right? So I believe if we all need support, and we all just stay passionate, and I believe, because I'm going to stay passionate, and when I go to school on Monday, I'm going to prepare a speech that I have learned today. I had sat with Lafayette, which is the Army. I have sat with Ditra. I have sat with Albany, Baseerah, and all of you. It's an honor to be here. So then when I go to school on Monday, I'm going to address this to my principal. I'm going to address this to my teachers. I'm going to get the word out. I'm going to spread what I have learned. So, all right. I believe that if we get our word out, we get support, and we focus not on just one issue, but on all the issues, because we are all connected. All these issues are connected. So if we focus on all our struggles, and we worry about this struggle, that struggle, we're going to take hold on our destiny. You know, civil rights movement. They didn't just say, oh, we're segregated. They took hold of their destiny. They did what's a moral imperative. They took responsibility. That's what we're doing today. We're taking moral imperative. We are taking our responsibility. Each and every one of us, and tell that person next to you if they're not taking responsibility, I'm going to start having to, because you're making the problem. You're not doing anything, so you're not addressing the solution. So I have to end. My passion, I'm sorry. I go to school at Roosevelt, and I have this teacher named Ms. Fithian. And she helped me prepare this speech. She is a passionate teacher. That's only one at Roosevelt. I need all my teachers to be passionate. I need that teacher to sit down with me. If I ask my world history teacher, if I ask my math teacher to sit down with me to help me prepare a speech that I'm passionate about, I want her to say, yes, Sarah, I'm going to help you. Because her passion is then my passion. So I would just like to say, in honor of her, I thank her very much.
I'll try to make it brief. I think at any point of intersection, the main thing that we all should worry about is preventing collision and preventing different opportunities where people, because we all organize for different reasons. We organize for ELL students, we organize for students, we organize for unions, for voters, for tenants, we all organize for different reasons. But I think the thing that makes us all come together in solidarity is that we all organize for the freedom and liberation of people as a unit, as a whole, as a group, as a everything. That's the thing that makes us, unique in what we organize for. As organizers, as teachers, as students, as parents, as community members, as police officers, as whatever you are, or whatever piece you bring to the community, know that your piece always will create in the end a puzzle. And in my opinion, that puzzle is liberation. That puzzle is freedom. That puzzle is not, accepting a little bit that we have for what it is, for taking what we need, for understanding that we need, and then in the end, getting what we want. And that's the thing that is going to make the difference. With organizing the Philadelphia Student Union, one thing that I've learned is that my voice is important because it's a part of a huge group of voices. And we, need to nurture those voices. We need to know those voices come natural to us. That we need to stop holding back our voices because we feel like we won't be heard. If you scream loud enough, you'll be heard. I appreciate that.
I still would like to give the moment. You can't walk off the stage and treat people not to get to the point. So we just want you to be conscious of the time.
I'm going to move fast, so I'll let go for it. We talk a lot about, what has come before us and following that legacy. But it's critical to understand that everything we do in this moment prefigures our future, and we're laying the ground for our descendants. The moral imperative is critical for our work because it is about reading the hearts and minds, but also understanding the dynamics and power are foundational to any change we're trying to organize on. We live in a culture of power over, external authorities telling us what to do, how to be. It's a culture of death and addiction to keep us from accessing our power. We're trying to build a culture of power with, where we all have power, we all have equal access, we all have equality of life. And it's that horizontal power that we're trying to build. There's power within. Every single one of you has the power to change the world. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. But the most practice that we're in is power under, where we give it up. And we give it up every time we say, I can't, I can't, I can't. The truth is, oftentimes we're not willing to because we're afraid of the consequences. And fear is the most powerful tool to keep us in our seats and on the ground. And we have to understand that it is that moving through that fear and confronting it, we can be afraid, but we can still act with courage. And so part of what we need to do in this next period is understand the power of non-cooperation and mass non-cooperation. Somebody mentioned earlier about we're still living in slavery. Debt is the new form of enslavement. Student debt, homeowner debt, consumer debt, tablet debt. And so we can look at those ways to undermine their ability to continue to control us like that by refusing together to refuse to pay back or to default on our loans, and that's more strategic stuff later. Since we're out of time, let me just say this. So much of what I've learned about politics is about taking space. Physical space, mental space, emotional space, spiritual space. Transforming it, occupying it, holding it, liberating it. And I've learned that sometimes you have to shut things down to open things up. Okay? So the last thing I'll say, because I know we're out of time, is that about the young people have been my best teachers. And they've taught me how to be in right relation. And so what right relation to me is an older person working with you is that I share my perspective. I give them my thoughts, my ideas. I sit down and help support them. But at the end of the day, they have to make the decision for themselves. And that is fundamentally the power of direct action. We can make decisions about what directly affects our lives. And if we do it accountable to one another with the vision of collective liberation, we are changing this world. We're doing it today. And I'm so happy to see so many new leaders in this movement. Thank you.
I just wrote down a couple things. Okay, so the first thing I advise everybody to do is recognize robbery. If you walk next door and you rob the Navy, you might get 20 years in jail. Yet still we have mayors, governors, legislative members that's robbing us every day millions of dollars and nobody's getting time. I also want to encourage folks to discover your genes. So if you don't know Dr. John Jackson and his story, he's one of the people that inspires me, and definitely to see him lead a foundation like this is something that makes you think of the word possible and makes you ask yourself the question, what's possible? And when you look at him and you learn his story and you see where he's been and understand how much of his story relates to you all and what you're struggling with today, I just want to thank you, Dr. Jackson, for that. I want you to figure out how to let your gifts flow. One of my friends, who recently became my friend, he talked about when a child is born, they come out with their hands balled up. And so it is believed that that is where the child holds their gifts. And as they live, they unfold their hands and their gifts come out to the world. So young people, stop letting folks ball your hands back up. Open your hands up and let your gifts flow. I also want to say that another guy, Don Ernst, who was from Arkansas, he said that he was quoting some stuff that Bill Clinton said, and he said, we have more yesterdays than we have tomorrows. And so in this spirit, I want to say AEJ, flight on. I want to say shot, fund on. I want to say BYOP, flight on. I want to say AQE, flight on. That the freedom songs and the freedom rides of yesterday are the marches and the chants that you guys are leading today. So I thank you, and I'm glad that I was able to be here. I thank you, Dr. Lafayette. I couldn't say enough words. I couldn't do anything but to express the deed and give my life in the same way that you have. And so I thank you. I thank you for